Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. This is Joe Nicasio, and today I wanted to talk a little bit something, really has to do with like the democratization of the internet. Sometimes I go into places where there's a community conversation going on, and every part of the challenge is everybody kind of gets that fair share of the microphone. And sometimes, jump into these rooms. If you're in the right room, there's like genius people sharing brilliant ideas. But also, if you go into some of these rooms, everybody gets the mic, and sometimes people are like giving bad advice, or they're giving people counterproductive advice, or they're really not grounded in principle. And I just want you to know that, a lot of times I bite my tongue. I am a little bit meek sometimes. I don't want to be rude and come and say you're wrong or you're giving bad advice. But quite honestly, I do cut people off. I do say like, that's bad advice, or, like, what's the basis for that? Or, it's just, the here's the problem with coaching today. Anybody can be a coach. The good news is anyone can be a coach. The bad news is anyone could be a coach. And, I put 25,000 hours learning what I know, and then somebody else wants to say they know more than me and they put in 30 hours of work. And, if you want to be successful at anything, you got to be willing to do the work. And unfortunately, some people just haven't done the work. And so, it's a challenge. Somebody said something the other day. They were quoting somebody and they said, we need to start the important conversations that really matter. But also, I think, there's a corollary to that. We need to stop the conversations that don't matter. We need to stop the conversations that are off purpose. We need to stop the conversations that are counterproductive or not even, contrary to the laws of physics. So, what's your take on this? How much misinformation are you willing to allow into your brain, into your community? How much lack of expertise are you going to listen to? Are you willing to be rude, to be, if you're committed to the truth, you're willing to be rude and cut off those things that are simply not true? And so I think there is a real issue. I don't jump into a lot of clubhouse rooms, for example, because I don't have the patience to let everybody, to listen to everybody like low level stuff. You want to choose your mentors wisely. And what do you allow into your brain? It's just like, I won't watch CNN because they just spread a lot of hatred and lies and misinformation, and they clearly have an agenda. And so what do you allow into your brain, and what do you say, no, that's not allowed. Okay. So just kind of curious, when you're in a room, you're in a community, and you're hearing bad information, misinformation, straight up lies, foolishness, something that's clearly coming from a place of lack of expertise. How do you handle it? I know it's a problem because people, I try and be diplomatic. I heard a definition that diplomacy is this ability to put your foot down without stepping on anybody's toes. But how much misinformation will you allow into your world? And I think, what's the solution? I think part of the solution is to run my own communities. Part of the solution is to be, to run my own playground instead of playing on somebody else's playground. I want to be social, but I also want to make sure I'm social. What's that saying, that you're the average of the 5 people you hang around? Well, if you walk into a room and there are 5 brilliant people, you're going to probably stick around. If you're walking into a room and there's 5 people speaking babbling bullshit, you're going to really put up with that. So what is your solution? I know that the best stuff I've learned, I've paid for. Going in and getting free information all over the internet doesn't always lead, to the answers. I like learning from experts. I spend money to get access to knowledge and expertise. And you know what? It warms my heart when I know I'm getting the real stuff. It warms my heart. There's a glow. There's a beautiful feeling that, wow, it's refreshing. Somebody speaking the truth. Somebody that's speaking based on principles and laws of physics, faith, God, things that are real. Okay. So I'm just curious, we can learn from the right people, we can learn from the wrong people, but I know it's true that if we learn from the right people, we can learn amazing things, and we learn from the wrong people. And I also know it's very important that if you really want to grow in this life, if you want to grow in your relationships, if you want to be growing in your business, you need to have a commitment to the truth about reality. So I'm just curious, when you're hearing bad advice, when you're hearing misinformation, when you're hearing things that clearly goes against the expertise that you've learned, do you bite your tongue, or do you call it out? I'm just curious. I'd love to know in the comments below, what do you do when you hear big fat lies? I think at some point, there's a saying that in order for evil to exist, good people need to do nothing. And so one of the things is I'm very committed to the truth about reality. I'm very committed to my clients really winning in business. And when I hear somebody say, go do this thing, and I know that thing that they're saying to go and do is going to actually be a big giant waste of their time, I got to call it out, because I don't want to see people fail. I don't want to see people struggle. So what do you do? I would love to hear, how much, when you're in a community, you're in a room with 10 or 15 or 20 people, obviously when you hear good advice, you want to be glued to it. But what do you do when somebody is at the front of the stage, or in a virtual room, and they're saying something that simply isn't true? How do you deal with that? Do you just bite your tongue? Do you leave the room, or do you actually correct the misinformation and put people on the righteous path? I'd love to know. This is Joe Nicasio, your business mentor. If you want help in your business, look, I've helped over 4,000 people in 400 industries grow their businesses. I've helped myself go from failure to making a good living. And I could help you. Would you like my help? If you do, reach out. This is Joe Nicasio, your business mentor. God bless you. Have an amazing day.